Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's installment of Epac Quarantine Chats. I have two beautiful humans with me today who I'm going to talk to, who I go back a long way with both of them. Jeff Lentz from Albright College and Mark Flannery. How you doing, guys?
Good. Yeah, we're hanging in there.
Jeff, we're going to start with you. We go back a long time. I don't know how long. but Albright College is, and Professor Lynn Morrow is sort of the connection between most of us. And now I want to talk about Albright has a theater major.
Does.
Correct.
20 years now we've had it.
For how long?
20 years.
20 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. So anyway, and what is your position at Albright College again there?
So I'm the senior artist in residence for the departments of theater and music.
Okay.
And I'm the chair of the music department as well. So I get to teach in both departments, and it's the dream job. I get to be in the voice studio. I get to be in the classroom. I get to direct plays and musicals and original pieces.
Mm-hmm.
The accompanist for the concert choir. I mean, like anything and everything that I would love to have my hands in, I get to. So, which is great. Albright was the place. I mean, at the time there was no theater major or music major at the time. Now there's both.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there specifically so that I wouldn't go into a career in theater and music. I was I know. But then I met Lynn Morrow, and so she heard me sing and saw me do some stuff and was basically like, "Kid, what are you doing here?" But I didn't know at the time. Well, this is the God's honest truth. The reason I went to Albright, besides the fact that my brother was going there at the time to be a Methodist minister, the college magazine showed up at my parents' house, and there was a set on the front, a beautiful theater set from She Stoops to Conquer, that Alan Moyer, the great Alan Moyer, designed. And I looked at that set design, and I was like, oh my God, they do spectacular theater there. This is great. So at least if I'm not going to go into the theater, I can participate, right? But then I didn't know that Will Bond, who's one of the original company members of Anne Bogart's City Company, and Alan and people like myself and Saida Ekalona and Chris Updike and others, we've all come out of this program of Lynn's that where she basically said, we can piece together an individualized major, spend a semester at the National Theater Institute, and so get a conservatory time, and sort of work on either moving toward graduate school. So whether it was a PhD in dramatic literature, it could have been an MFA in directing, or moving toward opera, which is kind of what happened. I mean, some of the people I work with at the National Theater Institute were professors at Yale. They loved the idea of this dual degree program. There was a wonderful synergy between the drama school and the music school. At the time, Yale's opera program was just about the only program in the country that had dance as part of the programming and acting, right? So I was like, this is it. This is what I want. Went off to Yale, and then, basically fell right into a career in both musical theater and opera. I don't have a lot of hard luck stories. I really am very, very, very fortunate to work, pretty much from the get-go. Part of that really, comes from Lynn's training,
right,
and also from the connections and things that I was able to make at Yale. But Albright always had me back. Lynn and others had me back at Albright every January to teach and to direct in their January term, which I think where we met. So I was building, because she knew in the back of her mind that I also wanted to be in academia. So she said, you know, if you can give me 1 month, 5 weeks or so every year, we'll build your teaching and directing resume while you're doing this, you know, performing career. And I mean, I sang all over the place. I've done world premieres, and I've been on, you know, I've sung at Lincoln Center and been on great performances and live from Lincoln Center, and, you know, kissed Renee Fleming on stage. And, you know, I've had marvelous experiences, but there was a point where I could kind of tell that I was getting less blonde and more expensive. So, you know what I mean? I knew there was probably a time when, you know, there was going to be there was already by then another generation of singers who could do what I did. By this point, there were a lot more programs that were asking actors to be opera singers. And so I wasn't this rare, like, ask Jeff, nobody else can do it, get Jeff to do it. Like, that wasn't the way it was anymore. At that same time, Albright was putting in their full theater program, a theater major, as Lynn retired. So, you know, when she retired, they really had replaced her with 2 people. So they brought in Julia Matthews, who was our chair, and she was a great Shakespearean scholar and actress, singer, director, and myself to sort of run the artistic side of things. And, you know, at the time, we called it an artist in residency because I had about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years worth of gigs and recordings in London and Buenos Aires and back to San Francisco and other places that I had to do and wanted to do, you know what I mean? Because I was at that point I was creating synergies between our students and some internships and things like that, right? So it behooved everybody to have me sort of stay in the business. But as the program took off, I just realized I really needed to be there all the time. I could no longer afford a semester off a year, you know. And then by that point, you know, around 2007, that was the first time that Albright won the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival with our production of Waiting for Godot, that I directed and Coco Bernal designed. And we kind of knew, like, this is really working. This is really, we're Albright College wins the Kennedy Center. Like, what, you know, and now, you know, here we are 12 years later, and we will have won a total of 4 times. Right. So, and students started going on to grad school and going into the business, and you know, it was just really working, and I just loved it, and I loved it. And then, you know, who doesn't want to spend their life with this guy? So, you know,
I was kind of a Fozzie. So you get now, Lynn. There was the theater major in place before Lynn retired.
It just started, basically. We sort of did a poll of the students, like, if we had a theater major, would you become a theater major? Could you do English and theater? You could do, like, and so many of our kids were like, yes. So, yeah, the college then sanctioned it. And as she retired, they replaced her with 2 people, the same way now that Wayne is going to be retiring soon. We're trying to replace him with 2 people because he basically had 2 jobs for 35 years. Or 4 jobs for 35 years. Incredible. But so it's and now we have 5 full-time faculty, you know, and lots of students, and we have long form and short form improv. We have 2 improv groups. We've got a children's theater. We've got the DP studio, Domino Player Studio, the student-run arm of it. So there has been an original play, original full-length or short plays in our season for the past 8 years.
Wow.
Or 9 years now. Every year, because and the thing is, on the undergraduate level, that's so rare to, because it's so many programs are just about like, teach the kids the rules, and then in grad school they'll learn how to break the rules. And we're like, no, we can do both. We can do both. And yeah, so it's been a wonderful experience. And Mark and I have witnessed such incredible talent and beautiful people, and we're as thrilled for our students that go through our program and excel and then go, I want to be a doctor, and now I want to be a doctor, now I want to go in the Peace Corps, now I want to go work in public health, thank God, right? Become a lawyer, all those things, like, and they take all of those incredible skills, those life skills, hard and soft, into different industries, and they all excel great. So it's been a real blessing.
So tell us about, before we move on, because some people might not know about the Kennedy Center, which you won a ton of them. So tell us what that is about. Explain that and how you go there and what those awards are.
So the Kennedy Center's American College Theater Festival started in 1969, and it is a national organization dedicated towards theater excellence in the college arena. There are hundreds and hundreds of colleges across the country, thousands of students that are involved in this organization. And the Kennedy Center has divided the country into 8 regions. Each region has an annual festival, week-long festival. Ours is, we're in the Mid-Atlantic region, but now we have a little bit of Ohio and a little bit of New York State. But we have about 1,200 students who come to our festival with their faculty. So we come, and nobody's getting paid to do this. This is all volunteer. It's a week-long festival of incredible workshops and design competitions and dramaturgy and playwriting and stage management, acting competitions, directing competitions. They're all going on during the day with these workshops. And then peppered in between there, they invite 8 to 10, so let's just say, even if we say 10, so they invite 10 productions from the region to the festival. Now, how do those productions get there? People like myself, people like Victor, volunteer as respondents. So we go out to different schools and we respond to the shows. And if if it's a show that we think other people should see, and the school has the support, right, to be able to do it, because a lot of schools do really great work, but their schools are like, no, we're not spending any money on this.
Right.
So then you bring your show, and the national judges, there are 4 national judges. They have committed themselves to 2 months a year, 8 weeks a year, that they go to all 8 festivals and they see all the shows. So they see 80 shows.
Wow.
And until about 5 or 6 years ago, 3 shows in the country were selected to come to the Kennedy Center and be performed at the Terrace Theater at the Kennedy Center. We lose budget money, and the Kennedy Center decides, you know what, the money that we have is probably better spent giving it into the regions. So we're no longer going to invite shows to the festival. What we'll do is we'll have at the national festival, where the winners of all those competitions from around the country come and vie for lots of scholarships and internships and apprenticeships and really great opportunities. But instead of also inviting 3 productions, they'll have a big award ceremony and they'll give out all the national awards, and everybody who wins is then invited to come for that night. So luckily we made it in. We did do Waiting for Godot at the Kennedy Center, and the next time we were the national runner-up with our production of Eurydice, Sarah Rule's Eurydice, a couple of years later. But then we won. We won in 2016 for our production of Clyburn Park, a magnificent play that all theater companies should do. It was like, my God, we won for the second time. So now what it is the best. They give you a best play in the country, best musical in the country, and best new work in the country. And they sort of shower it with different awards. So we won in 2016. And then we won again last year for our production of Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. And then we won again this year.
Yeah.
For our production of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Although we haven't made the college hasn't put out a big statement about it yet, because it's got to, there's protocol to it. And there was no festival. So all those incredibly talented students who worked their butts off at their festivals and won they're still waiting. So I don't know whether the Kennedy Center is going to try to have a festival in August, or I don't know. I mean, it's like everything else. We just
we're all in a sit and wait. Yeah,
right. They did, but because we had finished our work, and the other really cool thing is that Wayne, who's retiring, he was awarded the highest honor they give, which is the gold medallion for his entire career and multiple awards as a lighting designer. So that was really cool, because I mean and it was given to him that night, the night of our show. It just so happened that the award ceremony was the same night as our production. So we're just thrilled. We're thrilled that they get it. They get us. We do. And so you saw Curious Incident. So I think you can attest to the fact that there's a meticulousness that the students are used to. The way they work with me. It's just really cool, because it's it was
a dynamite production. It's really great. Now the work up there is pretty incredible. What's going on up there?
Thank you.
So I'm sending my Epac people up there.
Well, that's the thing, and you've got amazing high school students,
yes,
as well, that that we would love to work with them as well. So we're both lucky. We both have such incredible talented people working with us.
Let's go to Mr. Flannery now.
Wow, I was just the pretty one, right?
Trophy. The man who everybody has done theater locally has had a crush on at one time or other. How are you?
I won the prize.
Oh, it took many years, but
Now we worked together. I don't even know what year it was. First time I met you, you were stage managed. We did a production of Cartoon Trilogy, directed by Harry Long. And did you stage manage when we were in, because we went to Lancaster, then we went up to Reading. We were just were you in a stage managing when we were in Lancaster as well?
No, just when you brought it to Albright.
When we brought it to Albright.
We said, hey, do you want to help out? And we brought a couple of people from Genesius up, and we're like, let's do it. And we ran it a couple times, and it's always one of my favorite memories, because I remember seeing you backstage, and we was backstage watching you, and it was magic. I can't even explain the magic that was happening. But with Harry Long, which I haven't seen him in years, but I remember one time we were.
Shut up. It's Nick Smith.
Oh, man.
Anyway, go on.
During one of the runs of the show, we were messing around backstage. We weren't concentrating. We changed the set, and it wasn't the right set for the next section. And I remember Harry saying, he went on the headset, he goes, Mark, what the hell's on stage? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, that you're one ahead, and I'm like, what should we do? He goes, get your ass out there. And I'm like, oh! And I'm telling you.
Was this in front of an audience? I don't remember this. This is in front of the audience.
It happened. It was such a quick change that we quickly, boom, boom, boom. But I'm telling you, it taught me to be on my game at all times.
And you never stage managed for me at Epac. I have this memory of you at Epac. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe I'm just.
I'm with Tina when Tina, why can't I think of her last name at the moment? But Tina did a show up there. She did Once Upon a Mattress, and I came up and did some stuff and helped her. But that was pretty much it. It's always been one of my dreams. Sooner or later, let's see what can happen. To come up to the Epac, but you know, I remember it used to be such a joy to come to your shows. It was like, oh gosh, we're going to Epac. I mean, I'm talking way back. I remember being up there for one show. It was 101 degrees outside.
Oh, yes.
I remember leaving one time. I had a white shirt on. I was drenched because, you know, back in the day where you used to open up your sides and the air would flow in and out. And I remember some people like, I'm going to pass out. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. So,
was that 6 degrees of separation? Because that was this massive heat wave.
I think it was falsettos. It was one of the
falsettos. Okay.
I just remember having a white shirt on. I left there. I was completely drenched from head to toe, but it was fantastic. I'm suffering for this art because it's prepared, because it had that feeling of, let's put on a show. That's what I miss. That's what I love. That's what I love about theater in Reading. You know, and Ephrata and Albright. It was like, let's put on a show, and everybody just did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
When you know, and even with Lynn, I said my path is crossed with her through Genesius. I said, somebody said, hey, do you want to stage manage? Sure. Hey, do you want to direct? Sure. Hey, do you want to clean a toilet? Sure. I mean, we did it all. Am I right? I mean, that's just what we did back in the day. You know, it's not I want to star. You know, I want to do. I remember going on in 10 minutes notice at Genesius when somebody got sick and passed out. I didn't know what the hell I was doing on stage, but you know what? I'm like, I think I can remember what the lines are. Let's go. And there it is. So
you've been doing this a long time on the community level as well.
Yeah.
How long have you been? Because you were well, go on.
In 1979, I had just gone up to Reading High for my junior and senior year. Terry Reedy, you know, great Terry Reedy, who did great theater at Reading High School, asked me to do a show. He knew I was a new kid on the block up there. My dad was principal. He goes, this poor kid's coming in junior year. He goes, try out for my show. And it was MAME. And that got me hooked because I went from there because I knew we were doing MAME at Reading High. I got cast as Lindsay Woolsey. In the meantime, Genesius Theater was doing MAME. And Terry said, hey, go down and see Genesius Productions, see what they're doing. And see what they're doing there. And that was it. I remember being in the front row, you know, Marilyn O'Haron. I mean, just, you know, Bill Sanders. I could just go through the whole list of people there. It was just fantastic. And that was my first romance with theater in Reading. And from there, I had many, many years. I came back after college and worked at Genesius as well. And, you know, but
where did you go to college, Mark? Where did you go to college?
Penn State. I actually worked at a Penn State Berks campus while I worked full time, and then went through the Pittsburgh campus for my student teaching. So I was there for like 4 years, you know, did all my, and then came back to Reading and started my teaching career, and then said, you know what, I think it's time to get back into theater. And that's what I did little by little, like I said, doing little bit parts here, and little by little building up, and then trying to, directing, producing, just doing whatever I needed to do. Like I said, scrubbing toilets. We did it all back then. And, everybody still does it that way today, but that's.
I never scrubbed the toilet.
That's true. That's true. I was never in the corner.
But I understand what you're talking.
Oh my goodness. That's so
I hear it does wonders for the soul.
Scrub the one toilet Epac had back in the day. So
it was
I'm sorry, what, Mark?
Because there were so many theater groups in Reading, in the 70s and the 80s, and the economy dropped out, and who knows, there were so many reasons why the group started falling to the wayside. But I mean, it was a joy every fall to, every Christmas time to go to see a civic opera production. Then again, in the springtime, to go to, Penn State Summer Theater, to go to, Albright Summer Theater, which is the first time, he doesn't remember, but when I met this guy, I mean, shoestring productions, Weiser had the 76ers, Boyertown had Limelight. I mean, it just was a spider web of all these amazing Alpha Omega, all of these great groups, community players that you just went from one show to the next. And the thing was, we coordinated. We all would sit down and say, hey, when are you doing your shows? So we don't overlap, so we don't steal each other's audiences. And it was really quite an amazing time. And I know they're still really trying to do that today, to try to, the groups who are remaining, to really try to, get people and coordinate and stuff. But what a magical time from going show to show to show.
It would be a dream of ours, right, to be able to help the groups in the summertime, because our theater, which is very well outfitted, and we've got a box office and we've got air conditioning and we've got whatever. It would be great if we could, team up with everybody and use our space that sits, too dark in the summertime.
Yeah, that was the first time I did it. And Revep was for Albright Summer Theater with Lynn.
Back when it was in the cafeteria.
Yes, we were in the cafeteria. So Mark, so you're a teacher as well. What do you teach? What?
Like I taught 11th English, and I taught 11th to 12th grade English.
Okay.
Years and years and years, 36 years. And actually in June, I retired. I said 36 years, that's enough. But it was great though, because like I said, in my mid-teaching years, it gave me time then in the nights and weekends to do theater. But I thought 36 years, that's enough. That's enough teaching time. So I retired, and I thought I'm going to have an amazing first year of retirement where I'm just going to do nothing and just relax and explore. Well, who would have known that this pandemic lockdown would occur? I mean, I wanted to have extra time on my hand, but who the hell knew? But yep, I want to be a teacher, and that's exactly what I did for 36 years. But it was time for something new.
Yeah, I'd say to walk into Mark's classroom was a revelation of creativity and ingenuity and order, and his kids were so blessed to have him.
How are you guys doing now during all this? Like, what are you going? Well, you're not teaching because you're retired. So.
Yep. But
your retirement is now in exile.
I took some downtime. I just didn't know how much downtime I was going to get. So
I'll tell you honestly, we work so much, and you know that. We work so much in the theater. We're always putting up a show. We're thinking about a show. It's work. And when this happened, I'm like, okay, it gives me some time to reset. It gives me some time to take a breath, to think about the future, because you're always going to the next event. Yeah. Well, that is gone now. Now I'm just itching to get back to work. Now I'm going a little stir crazy here.
That was 2 days, and then we went back.
So how's it going with you, Jeff, and your courses, and how's that going?
It was, for us, it was rather sudden. It came. Albright starts because we have a Jan term. Albright starts just like a week or 10 days later, spring semester, than a lot of schools did. So we were right at halfway, and at fall we were at spring break. I mean, when I think it was like the day before people were leaving that it was all hitting the fan, and the college said, "Look, just kids, take all your books with you.
Wow.
We're definitely going to be closed for 2 weeks, spring break, and then the next week, and we'll work it out." But then, literally day by day, things changed, and then because I think what they thought, a lot of schools thought at that time was, well, we'll just do a 2-week spring break, right? And then we'll be back to normal. It'll be fine, because it's just going to disappear.
Yeah.
Then we're like, it's not. So now it was everything has to go online, and you have to get to know, Zoom is a 4-letter word, and you have to move all of your classes, including, I'm teaching an acting class.
Yeah, how do you do that? How do you do that?
I've had a marvelous time. I'm teaching voice lessons. I have a Broadway theater history class. God bless YouTube. There's so much for the students. So
Hmm.
what you just have to be, you have to be creative. You can't try to emulate exactly what you did live. It's not going to work. Even
Yeah.
even synchronous stuff like this. I do have synchronous classes for the acting and for my musical theater class, but because it all happened so fast and because it wasn't written into the contract of the class syllabus before the students agreed to take the classes, we had to uh, say, you have to assign things that they can do offline and then hand them in, and then you grade that, and then whatever we can do this way is gravy, in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So it's been wonderful to talk to the students also. Like you say, they're constantly going, to sit with my voice students and talk to them about, what do you need? What do you, like, let's stop for a second and let's think about critical listening.
Oh,
Singers.
yeah.
Let's listen to singers together. Let's screen share, and I'll give you a bunch of singers who I really respect and admire, and who I think have the similar kind of technique that I'm working on with you. Let's analyze their work.
Wow. Okay.
So that's been fascinating. Doing the same thing with acting as well, and with, as I said, with musical theater, there's so much, so much to dig into. But it's really my musical theater class that was the one that was the most affected, because I did things like, okay, I'm giving you $300 and a bus ticket to New
Hmm.
York, right? And you have to spend that $300 at, in New York, going to see shows. What are you going to spend that $300 on? Well, there was no shows. Right? My final was, they had to fill in the Tony ballot and own exactly why they were choosing these particular people to win every Tony Award for all the categories. Right? So I had to reinvent that class a bit. Um, but and it may continue. I mean, we hope that we'll be back, but we've got plans, the contingency plans, things, a lot of, I mean, and the good news is, well, I mean, I don't know if it's good news, but at least we're all in the same position.
Right.
So
Right.
every school is going, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you going to deal with this? And so, and trying to think outside the box, things like, well, maybe a semester doesn't work for us anymore. Maybe we need to do smaller chunks. There are some colleges that teach one class, like we have a Jan term. Imagine doing that every month.
Yeah.
9 months of 1 month classes. Okay, so, and or two classes for a half a semester, and then two classes on the flip side of the semester. Maybe that's better for our students anyway.
Yeah.
Focus on two things. I mean, I think about, you say things have changed out there. Things have changed in academia as well. The students, so many of our students work so many hours, have jobs. Some of them have like full-time jobs, and they're living on campus, and they're trying to do a full-time, like when I went to school, that was my job.
Yeah.
And but so we've got so many issues, so many kids with so many issues, that it really is an opportunity for us to really take a step back and say, wait a minute.
Right.
I know
Right.
it's easier for us to be able to continue doing the things the way we were doing them, but let's really think about career development.
What do you think the future is? There's so many people supposing. Are we going to go back to a new norm? Are we going to go to a new normal of how we watch theater? Are we going to go back to the way it was? Or what do you think? What do you guys think?
I I'm well, you want to go
No,
ahead?
good.
I'm torn because of course I wanted to go back to the way it was, where the theaters were full of people and we, did this thing. But I'm afraid that I have absolutely no faith in our federal government, that we've been screwed by them and their response, and screwed to the point where now it's going to be a long time before people will feel comfortable doing this. So we kind of don't have any choice but to embrace the concept of streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that it's not the same thing. I was just talking to my musical theater class about this morning. Like, they were watching, we're what is it like to watch, like they were watching Rent live on Fox, and they were watching Jesus Christ Superstar live, and they were watching other things where there was, like filmed versions of musicals where there's no audience. And what do you, where does the audience work for you? And they were all of them, the kids, and these aren't kids that are like all like they've been to a lot of theater. They've really learned to love it. They're like, oh, you have to have an audience. It wouldn't be the same without the audience. You can't not have an audience. Like, I think that's, those live shows, live Broadway shows on television that didn't have an audience, that's what was wrong with them. The thing that worries me is what's going to happen to the commercial real estate market when so many companies realize, you know what, I guess we don't need this big building, we'll just keep our people at home. They're way more productive, and not recognize that the reason that they're more productive right now is because there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's productive who's, Zooming 20 hours a day. But as soon as you then have to take your kid to the soccer team, and you have to do this and you have to do that, I don't think we're going to be as productive. But companies are going to think of this as a cost-cutting measure, and then places like New York City are going to.
Well, I think it was going that way anyway, but now it's jump-started. Now this has pushed it faster than I think it would happen naturally, as a naturally evolve in society, a societal change of not, paying for a building when you could, with the internet and everything, you don't need a central hub. Yeah. So I think, but this is it's gonna push that philosophy to happen faster, I think.
I have hope that the remdesivir and some of the other vaccine and treatments that they're coming up with will be able to be greenlit sooner because of the situation. Because that's really, nothing's really going to change until then. But like this is true in not just for theater, but also in professional sports.
Yeah.
Talking about the passion of people at a sporting event spewing their aerosols and their droplets meters and meters and meters.
I know.
Right, at an event that you can literally trace the European pandemic back to a specific soccer game. And I'm also happy to say that, that my students, so the young, I always look to the, younger voices to say, how do you guys feel about this? We come at it from a different vantage point. They're mourning not being able to be together with their friends and be able, and to eat together and to go to the theater together. They just, everybody, all those poor, like college seniors, high school seniors, our nieces.
And socialization is so important to them, like so important to them. I remember being that age, I couldn't sit home. I could not sit home, but now it's like, I don't care, I'll sit home. That old joke, things that we hated when young are now, punishments when we were young are now what we live for. So it's so important. And I even find myself when I'm cooking now, it's like, I can't have people over to watch a movie. I can't have people over to have dinner. That's what I miss. I miss somebody cooking for somebody, having people come over and watching a movie or two, and just having a quiet evening glass of wine. And it really is It's
So
hard. It's
how do
really
you, let me ask you a question so that
hard.
my students today were in one of our conversations in the musical theater class, we're talking about, we were talking about narrative and how the major important stories and stories like Porgy and Bess and Hair and Rent and the stories that really changed the theater because of the kinds of stories that could be told, not just the delivery system things, not just the advent of the dream ballet or the advent of the but the stories inside, right? They were all wondering how Broadway musical theater was going to respond to the pandemic narratively. And everybody was sort of debating, has there been a really, really deep show since Rent? And I sort of posited, I said, well, for me, Next to Normal would be that piece. That, there's a subject that had not been tackled on a Broadway stage, but they were really taken with whether or not, like, what's the big 9/11 musical? I was like, well, it's Come From Away. But is it, you know what I mean? Is it Rent? Is it this big? Are we going to have a piece of theater that chronicles this moment in human history?
For me, one of those, and it wasn't a literal narrative, but a really heavy metaphorical now, Into the Woods. I always associate Into the Woods with the AIDS crisis in New York that I lived through. That aspect of it, not that it can't be about other things, but that was the immediate feel about that show, the metaphor of that show, the narrative of that show. I think it came out of the crisis. I really do. I think it came out of the crisis. I don't know. It's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know how narratively how it's gonna be responded to. It's gonna take somebody with a vision. It's gonna, like Larson. It's gonna take a Larson or Sondheim, and somebody who has that vision and knows how to musicalize that vision.
Yeah.
How do you write a musical about isolation? I mean,
right, true.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Like, I could see playwrights, drama, non-musicals. Yes, they're going to explore this forever. This is going to.
Are there plays that you're thinking about now that are finally resonant?
When people go back immediately, and I think there will be, people will be. There's going to be a dichotomy. I think people are going to be worried about going in groups, and also I think people are going to have a hunger for socialization.
Yes.
And I think it's very interesting to see how that plays out. It's going to play out, because I think both things are going to be going on. But I do think when people come back, they are going to want life affirming for a little bit. They're going to want life affirming or humorous stuff or positive stuff. I think so. I said, well, you know what? Hedda Gabler can wait till 221. God willing, we're still here. Wait till 221. So I'm gonna, Gentleman's Guide, Boys in the Band, and Matilda. So we're gonna do lighter stuff. I really haven't thought of any plays because of this situation. Nothing has occurred to me. I mean, there are plays that I want to do personally that I've been on the list, but a play that in my mind said, I want to do that play because it reflects this time, that hasn't occurred to me yet. That hasn't occurred to me yet. Yourself, how about you?
Well, yeah, no, I'm on that same. We're very simpatico where that's concerned. I'm working on the importance of being earnest.
Yeah,
it's the next thing I'm going to do. But we're going to set it in the 1920s in the gender bending drag bars of London in the 1920s, where drag kings became the big thing. So it has to be fun and frothy, and you know what I mean? Like, it's like people do not necessarily want to go see the Trojan women
Yeah.
Right. So as much as I like to direct a production of it, we have students that be great at it. You know what I mean? It's like the right time for the job.
No, I think people are going to want life for free. And that's have to be an out and out comedy, but positive, a positive, like something life affirming. That's what words I can come up with.
Well, I've heard, I didn't see it, but I heard about a really fascinating production of Waiting for Godot that was set basically like in a lake, if you will. It's a flood zone on a rooftop in New Orleans after Katrina,
yeah,
right? And they're waiting on the roof.
Huh.
Wow.
For and a little kid the kid walking in, the kid comes in a little boat, right? Like perfect.
Yeah, that is perfect.
Imagine sort of sitting in a waiting room with your mask on. I can imagine re-envisioning plays that setting it during the time of a pandemic, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't, it's been too long since I read Will Eno's The Flu Season, but
yeah.
that might be a
Or
good.
the plague, UNESCO's The Plague.
Yeah, right. Oh.
So, okay, guys, I got to go, but thank you so much for spending time with me today. Love you all. Take care. Stay healthy, babe.
Listen, thank you for what you do. Thank you for all the people at Epac who do such a brilliant job all the time.
Yeah.
We will be there. We will be there.
We'll wear masks, we'll wear bodysuits, whatever. We'll be there. So.
We will be there.
I do have this vision of all the 100 people sitting there with the mask and the rubber gloves and just sitting emotionless watching the show. That is my nightmare. Well, maybe I should do Head of Gavel.
We will be there though.
Yeah.
All right, loves.
All right.
Take care. Stay healthy.
Yeah,
You
take
too.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, loves.